Welcome to FailCraft, the podcast where we dive into the messy, real side of success and explore how setbacks become the stepping stones to growth and clarity. I'm your host, Ezekiel Iferia, and today's guest, Tami Gaines, faced a convergence of setbacks that is hard to even imagine. A shocking ultimatum from her husband, a brutal divorce, and the terrifying birth of micro-preemie twins at just 25 weeks. Instead of crumbling under the weight of a year-long battle in the NICU, she decided to treat that hospital room as a classroom for mastering resilience. She is here to share how she turned that season of immense fear and uncertainty into a blueprint for growth, founding the Preemie Peace movement to help others find strength in the chaos. Tammy, it's great to have you on the show today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Ezekiel. I'm excited to be here.
All right, Tammy, let's dive in. Your story is incredibly intense. You went from a corporate boardroom to a hospital room, facing a sudden divorce and then the birth of twins weighing less than 2 pounds, all at the same time. So, like, can you take us back to those first few weeks in the NICU when everything felt completely out of your control? The machines, the prognosis, the personal heartbreak. So, what was the specific moment you realized you had to stop just surviving the trauma and start consciously growing through it?
Yeah, so my story actually starts before the NICU. I was placed on hospitalized bed rest for 5 weeks before the twins were born. And during that time, I was not allowed to get out of the bed.
Mm,
So I had nothing but time. I really poured myself into reading, into personal development, sort of reminding myself of those things that I may have forgotten over the years. So that was the first battle, was trying to stay pregnant. And I can tell you that it was really helpful to refresh on my own inner strength, regaining perspective on the situation. So seeing a situation as it is, not better than it is or worse than it is, but just literally as it is. So after the twins were born by emergency C-section, that's pretty much when I decided that I needed to take this journey from a place of power, self-empowerment. Yeah, so from the first minute I walked into the NICU, which is a neonatal intensive care unit for those who don't know. It was nothing but machines going off, bells going off, monitors, alarms. Just the environment was overwhelming. But when I saw my two little munchkins in their isolettes, so small, they were 1 pound, 12 ounces each, that's when I decided I need to fight for them, that I was going to pour my love into them and do something different, than I was seeing around me. There was a lot of very upset people. And I believe from the beginning that babies can feel energy, like everything is energy. So I wanted to make sure I walked in there every day with a smile on my face and hope in my heart and faith that this was the walk that I was meant to be on. So yeah, it was sort of a very conscious decision before I even got to the NICU. Because I had like you said, I was going through the beginning of a divorce. I had two kids at home and then two in the hospital. So I became suddenly single. So long answer to your question, but yeah, it was sort of a decision I made early on.
all right, Tammy, thank you very much for sharing that story with us. So, you call the NICU your classroom. So, what was the hardest lesson you had to learn there about the difference between control and surrender?
That was exactly the hardest lesson I learned because everything in the NICU is out of your control. Like the baby's health, when the doctors decide to round, you do have to surrender or else you will drive yourself insane. So I made sure that I was not like going home and Googling all their different conditions, out of my control. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse. All I decided I could really be was a very strong advocate for the twins and for their health and for the decisions that were being made. But yeah, surrender and control was by far the hardest thing because if you talk to people that know me, in many ways they would say I'm a control freak. So, like I said, different attitude, just learning how to let go was hard, but a fast lesson.
All right, Tammy. So I like to know, you, I read across a line on your profile that said your son came home on a ventilator with a grim prognosis. So how did you maintain peace and purpose when the medical reality was so terrifying day in, day out?
I said to somebody during this journey, first, the doctors wouldn't even give me a prognosis. They said if they live through the first week, we'll start talking. So that was like the first milestone. They lived through the first week. They lived through the second week. From that point, I think I said to somebody that if my son decides to stay, I will be forever grateful. And if he doesn't make it, I will be grateful that I had him for this little time. I always saw him as the warrior. Listen, both of my twins were amazing. Bria recovered a lot faster. She was able to get healthy faster than my son. So yeah, it's living in a place of gratitude is really how I manage that. And when I brought him home, he was trached. He had a ventilator. He was oxygen dependent. He ate through a G tube that went into his stomach. He was on a bunch of different medicine, but I was incredibly grateful that he chose me to be his mom and he chose me to take this journey. So yeah, having an attitude of gratitude, you can't beat it. It's right up there with surrender and control as hard things.
Oh, wow, that's a very powerful response. Having an attitude of gratitude. So, yeah, I like that one, Tammy. So you
You
said,
could have that one. You could borrow that.
yeah, yeah, I guess I will. Thank you very much. So I read the line where you said, our will is a renewable resource. So how did you practically renew yours on the days when you felt completely empty?
There's a couple of things which I always recommend to parents and caregivers that are in the NICU, which is actually to get out of there at least once or twice a day. Like we would sit there from morning until evening. So I made sure I got out and I took a walk. Not very interesting, but even just walking around the parking lot gave me a sense of fresh air and it gave me buoyancy. It uplifted me just to get a little sun, and no matter how cold it was, I made sure I got out. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I had nights where I came home and after I put the kids to bed, I had a great cry. Just I would go in the backyard and just have like a tremendous cry, which is also cathartic. But I always believe like every day is a new day. Just because today was bad doesn't mean tomorrow's going to be the same. So again, that actually goes back to perspective, having perspective on your situation.
Great, great. So all of this, how did this experience reshape your identity from, a corporate strategist to the founder of a movement? Was it hard to let go of the old version of what you would call success?
Now, success to me is success. And that's what it looks like in your bank account. And, if you're creating impact, I consider that success. What did get reinforced, however, is I was working for myself when I had the twins. I didn't have a boss. I didn't have a job. I've had my own consulting company for 30 years. So one thing that I became very serious about and very committed to is teaching people how to have their own business so that when things like this happen, you don't have to call a boss. You don't have to worry about, juggling your laptop and getting work done. You could be fully present. So I'm still in that world. I'm still helping people start businesses, side businesses, by the way. I'm not saying go out and quit your job, but you always need to have a fallback plan before you need one. And that was sort of my redefining success for me was making sure I sustained my own business, that I was successful there, and that I'm teaching other people how to do it. So impact was always on my mind. I've always been very serious about creating positive impact on the world. It just became more ingrained, I think, when I was going through that NICU experience.
All right. So can you tell us about this Preemie peace movement you're currently leading?
Yeah, it's a virtual movement and it's basically helping people find the resilience that's inside of them. And they find
Right.
it, I talk about it in the book, but they basically I'm going through teaching people my principles of peace, which basically says that everything is going to move into balance eventually. You're not going to be in this place in 5 minutes, in 5 hours, in 5 days, right? Everything keeps moving. So essentially teaching people the skills that they need to build resilience into their life, to make it through, not just go through, by the way, but grow through their challenges, whatever they may be. In my case, we're talking about prematurity, but there's people that also went through divorce, and there's people that are rebounding from other challenges. So it's really about coming back stronger, falling forward, I would say. So that's what that's about.
Right. Great response, dear Tammy. So, for the parents or individual listening right now who feels like their life is in that NICU state, that critical condition of uncertain future and total chaos. So, what is the first small step you would tell them to take today to find a moment of peace?
It's almost what I just said, to be honest with you. It's embracing the idea that everything will move into balance eventually. I would say that make sure your perspective is accurate. I will say it again because this is the thing that people start to spiral because they think the worst. The worst is going to happen. But the truth is, whatever is happening is actually happening in the present moment. So, my first tip is just to be present, like lean into your experience. I know your family needs you. I know the baby needs you, or babies in my case. But it all starts with yourself. It's what I call self leadership. So, I talked about having an attitude of gratitude, being present in this very
Yeah.
moment, seeing things as they are, not worse than they are, and certainly not better than they are. But I cover in my book 26 ways to grow with your premature baby. It's all about the spiritual side of the NICU. And that's the first piece, I think, is in addition to the reality of being in the NICU, embracing your new normal. Because it's not normal for anybody. But yeah, embracing your new normal as quickly as you can, I think, is a first step to feeling peaceful. You will probably not going to feel at peace until you get out of the NICU, but those are a couple of steps to help you feel peaceful on this journey.
All right. So, Tammy, after rebuilding after fighting for your children's life and rebuilding your own from the ground up, I'd like to know, what does being successful truly mean to you now? I know you said a word or two about success earlier, but I'd like a more elaborate response on that.
Not a lot more to it than that. I think everybody needs to figure every success means something different to everybody. For me, it's what
Yeah.
I said. Am I creating impact in the world? Am I doing what I love? And am I doing it with people that I really like and care about? And I'm not a total capitalist, but the money in the bank is a good sign of success. So I am not settled. I'm not resting on my laurels. I'm still out there doing the work and grinding. So yeah, I feel successful in certain parts of my life, and other parts I'm still working at it.
All right, fantastic. So, finally, Tammy, for our listeners who need support, want to join the Preemie Peace movement or get your book, so where is the best place for them to go and get more information or perhaps contact you?
Probably my website would be the best. It's Preemie, Preemie. There you can read a free chapter. You can sign up for our newsletter. Starting in January, I'm going to have monthly wine o'clock sessions where you can come and just complain, which is sometimes what we need. So yeah, preemieparentsbook.com. I'm on all the socials. And of course, my book is available on Amazon as well.
All right, fantastic. So, Tammy, this has been such a powerful conversation, and I'm indeed honored to have you come share your story to inspire others on the podcast today. So, thank you very much for showing up, Tammy.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it. Keep up the great work.